good afternoon. This is our last session of the day. We all want to go home tired and we're annoyed. So I am going to treat us all like a bunch of fourth graders on a Friday who wants to go home. All right? Good evening, everybody. My name is Nerando, and I'll be your time holder for the next about 45 minutes. My topic today is that I talk with my hands. I cannot help it. It's one of them things after being an educator for 10 years and dealing with small kids going, please look at the board, doesn't work. This does. All right, let's begin. So, I'm thinking of the best way to term this. So growth hacking is basically for this topic, figuring out how to use whatever you have around you to get to where you need to go. Work. Please? Please work? All right. What am I not going to cover in this session? Anything that tells you how to contribute to open source and what is open source code. Not touching it. I think majority of us in this room should have a decent idea of what that is. If we want to talk about after this, I will stop and do that. What I am covering is the following. No. Oh, cool. So, who am I? I didn't put these together in the right order. Oh. So, this is my second career. I'm a bootcamp grad. I run Free Code Camp Atlanta, and 3 weeks ago, I used to work at EPM. Now I'm hunting again. And I'm in the continuous cycle following up on the keynote this morning of what Jeremy says. So I'm always being mentored. I'm always mentoring. I always advocate for somebody else, and I always get advocated for. The only reason I'm up on this wonderful stage is because I got bullied into submitting talks. Right, Homer? Okay. I said there's no evidence. So yeah, my friends would advocate for me because they realized that I had a message, so they advocated until I'm here. This is my 5th year at this wonderful place. I started as a volunteer. I'm now a speaker. I'm getting old. All right. Am I going the right way? Yes. Okay, cool. Why am I standing up here? It doesn't really work. All right. So, this is what we're covering. My journey, the biases I have, the insights I've gained over the last, 6-7 years, from hobbyist to full-time dev. What is open-sourced learning, tooling, strategies, and things to consider. There is going to be a lot of GIFs and memes on my slides because I have no code, and I find cartoons way more entertaining than human beings. All right, story time. And there are very few of us that can tell where all of this comes from. My journey is this. I basically started out as a full-time teacher trying to figure out how to give new tools to my students because, as usual, educators don't get enough tools, so we have to make our own. So I started doing drag and drop stuff to make tools on a Friday, because Friday was my biggest class. I'm a Jamaican educator, so my class sizes were in the 40s, and I had to make it work. So old laptop, screen, and teaching science to 7th graders who didn't want to be there was way much fun at 3 o'clock because the place was hot. But we made it work by making everything animated. After a while, I learned how to make the codes. So I started with inspecting stuff and pulling code out of it, and then copy and paste it, making sure it worked on my stuff, make it work. Notepad was my friend, then there was Notepad++. MOOCs came out, did the same thing, kept going. CS50 and the day of code gave me a better insight after me going to say, hey, this is something I want to do. I migrated, and then I started to do Free Code Camp. I went to Flatiron, then all of that stuff. As it says, future farmer and antique car connoisseur. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I want a garage with 14 spots for 14 cars, and I want to do nothing else but look at cars for the rest of my life. That's it. But the most important part about all of this is that I literally took what I had access to and built my own journey. Because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. That's all it was. The problem with this picture is that at one time, due to my friends, I was a damn mistake. So they drive me home to make sure I get what I want. But that's it. All right. This is my disclaimer. I am very biased when it comes to how I express stuff. And sometimes it's hard for me to see the middle, especially when it comes to education on a whole. I think how we teach stuff in tech is getting better, but it still needs help because I always hate the word, this is an easy tutorial, specifying easy. That's crap. Like everybody goes, easy TypeScript. No, there's no such thing. What if I've never done JavaScript before? What if I have no knowledge of where you're coming from? How is this easy? So I am biased, and I learned that computer science is a science, and you have to teach it as such. Some of us teach it as an art or magic. So yeah. All right. I'm first and second generation immigrant. My parents are Jamaicans. My mom has this saying. She says, you have everything you need to get to where you want to go. A week before I wrote that talk, I wrote this tweet. It was just on my head, dropped it online. Because I'm the kind of guy who shares knowledge because I believe that this is where we are. You share what you know because keeping it in your head will not. You already know it, might as well help somebody else. That's where I think we should all be majority of the times. The hardest part about this whole statement is being disciplined. We've all in this room being very, very resourceful in how to find what. That's it. And purposeful, we all need a paycheck, so that gives a lot of us purpose. Some of us aspire for more, but majority of us going, let's fix this because I still need this job, I'm not rich enough yet, and I haven't won the lottery. That's where we are. All right, open source learning. This is my definition. Before I got a formal definition of whatever this is, I wrote this down. So basically using whatever you have and bettering your craft. So I use no cost tools. I can also add to that low cost tools. So we are talking about, I need to learn how to code. Well, that didn't work. I need to learn how to write something or fix something. There is online. Scary enough, the library system still gives us really good resources because you can borrow a lot of the latest books and have them. The online version works well too. YouTube videos, watching talks. This is recorded, it will probably be up in a month. But I probably touched something that somebody needed help to do. And you just use it to better your version of whatever you do. Cool? While writing this, I found this. Formal education is just entering the phase where they realize that open sourcing learning is something that is needed, because for about 15 to 20 years, they fought Wikipedia tooth and nail saying that you cannot use it as a reference. Let me see anybody's hands who heard this while they were in college. Cool. Who cheated and used the reference at the bottom? Good, here we go. So this is where they are. They realize that you use whatever resources you have around you to basically manage your own learning experience. Everybody in this room learns differently. I am both visual and tactile. So I like to see it, and I like to do it. I do not copy and paste code in examples, no matter how much I want to get it over with, because my fingers remember what happened. Some of us will listen to podcasts and learn more than you do reading stuff. So everybody learns differently. So you basically you need to go there. And they go, okay, here are all the resources. Pick the ones that you need to go to get yourself to where you need to get to. That's it. And then you have teachers, counselors, mentors as facilitators. But you get yourself to where you want to go. All right. At the end of the day, in this wonderful craft of oars, which there is a new, hold on, I'm thinking about it. Big use of any new technology or production technology, we normally level up or upgrade stuff every 2 to 3 years. The problem is this: we are constantly working, and our education Onboarding of new tech is 100% your responsibility. That's it. Do we have to use TypeScript in the new project? Yes. Are you in React? Yes. Do you have to go learn it on your own? Yes. All you. Some companies will give you time to go learn it, some won't. All right. So before all of this starts, you have to figure out the following. Where in your journey are you? Some of us in the room are right here. I am between here and here. Others of us in this room are constantly tooling because we are senior, staff, lead, whatever it is. Once you know where you are, it makes it easier for you to figure out what resources you need to go find for yourself. Again, once you know where you are, it makes it easier for you to find the resources for yourself. Now, the question some persons face is telling me is the following. How do I know where I am? Get honest people around you that will tell you where you are. That's it. And for those of us who still think that we live in the age that we write code and don't like people, those days are over. It's like before the internet was connected to everybody and we thought it wouldn't be. No, the days are over. People are the best feedback you have. Because I'm getting notes from this presentation when it's done. Right, Homer? Appreciate it. All right. So self-assessment, personal assessment, you figuring out where you are is the following. My teachers back in the day, I love them because of these following characteristics. They made learning, I'm a science nerd and a literature nerd, which is kind of weird. But learning to me was practical. Shakespeare only made sense to me when I watched the movies. Science, I like physics more than I like math. Because I could see physics. Math, but I can always see physics. My teachers made learning sacred, as in I loved it because it was something that you could apply. They learned who I was as a learner. Again, this is you doing self-assessment, learning who you are. When all of this is done, you have to do all of those characteristics for yourself. You have to do those things for yourself. That's it, for you to become a better learner. All right. So we've done the assessment. Now these are the things we have to consider in our journey of becoming a better craftsperson, I would say, or engineer. I consider software engineering a craft, like blacksmithing, cooking. It's always constant and consistent tooling. That's how I view it. So now you have to consider the following. How much time is it going to take for you? You have an approximation. If you're totally disciplined towards it, how much effort you have to put in. Or you can say, how much time do you have to put in the effort to go where you need to go? Next move is to go, all right, cool. You don't have a comfort zone anymore. And the one thing a lot of us hold on to is our personal identity. That changes. So who you were as a learner before is totally different. That affects a lot of us because we have big goals but horrible systems. Your systems have to change. Some of us in here will go, oh, I'm not a morning person. A morning person is just a habit. Take it from somebody who used to stay up until 4. I now get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, my brain shuts off at 11. And between 6:30 and 8 o'clock, I'm my best version of myself learning anything. It's just practice. So you're going to have to change. All right, first foremost, you've done the assessment, you've figured the things that are important to you, now you make the plan. How do you learn? Now you ask your friend. Friend, companion, boss, mentor, coach, get some feedback. What do they see? If in this craft you don't have people like those, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're the problem. Because you think you're all important. You're the problem. And if your friends are afraid to tell you who you are, again, you're the problem. So, and if it's even your mom, she's going to figure out how to help you. Moms, dads, uncles, aunts, get some feedback. Then you make notes. From those notes, you can make a plan of action as to where to go. Then we do all the work. We've heard the consistent thing of the doer and the thinker. We've heard action speaks up. Now, and everybody says the same thing, you do it. All right, principles to live by. First thing, pick one thing. Yes, we have a stat to learn. Yes, we have this big thing to learn. That doesn't matter. One thing. You can only focus on one thing at a time. Anybody here who's ever worked in a kitchen environment or a garage, which I have done both, or a farm or a classroom or weighing tables, you can only do one task with full attention at any one time. It's the best bet for you, because if you pick the right first thing, you can build on it. We all want to do the T thing, but the best part of the T thing is going down in the middle of focusing. So one thing. Then we start from the front, not the middle of the damn book, from the front. Based on your assessment, you start from the level where it will challenge you. Then we don't skip any steps. I don't know how helpful this is to anybody in this crowd. If you have a photographic memory, that's fine. When you're writing code or doing anything, do the whole damn thing. If you're copy and pasting, don't. Example, when arrow functions came out, I saw them know what they did. My brain never fully goes, this is how this works. Somebody told me, stop copy and pasting code. I'm like, why? It's easier, it's quicker. He's like, no, you don't grow. I'm like, cool. I started typing. One day I was at the arrow function, I go click, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh shit, that's how that works. This is why you write, like, when you write stuff out in your interpretation of anything, your brain automatically recalls your version of it rather than what's going on. My parents cook for a living. They can write any recipe down. I remember how to do half the stuff out of my head because I saw them, watched them, work with them, and my brain interprets how to do it. Then you build things. So, this is this joker in the room. Oh, you thought you were going to escape, huh? This is Homer. Well, we call him everything else except Homer. His name for this talk is Howard Hugh Hendricks Humperdinck Gaines, or Homer Gaines. That's Comic Sans just for you, sir. But Homer lives by the principle of saying, we need to build our craft or our software accessible at all times. Him, Mark Noonan, who was a speaker here, Todd, Chris DeMars, who's here, they brought me into the knowledge while I was a volunteer here of the other side of the internet where, 5-10% of the internet at any one time has a serious disability, and they need to have access to it. To put bigger context to this, Beyonce once got sued by a blind person because they couldn't use her site. She paid the money and fixed the problem. And for any big company, you lose revenue when nobody can use your site. So instead of just building things, learn how to build things accessibly so everybody can use them. All right, so these are our principles. Magnolia.js, I took this away from one of the talks they said. You learn stuff, build stuff, and then you teach. I'm at the teaching phase. For those of us who don't want to teach anybody, we can mentor, we can write an article, we can appear on a podcast. We can make a presentation to our team if we have lunch and learns. We can go to a meetup and make a lightning talk. If you're going to tell me I'm afraid or I don't think I have anything to teach anybody, that's not true. That's your fear speaking. Your fear is overrated. It also stands in the way of you making either bigger impact or more money. And like my mother once said before I told her that I wanted to speak and I was scared, she said, Nerando, nobody cares. So nobody cares. Teach something. And for all the persons in here who comes from minority positions, alternative learners, I don't have a CS degree, again, nobody cares. Write the damn article. Go make the talk. Ask your friend for an opportunity who runs a meetup to go make a presentation. You're going to screw up, that's okay. This presentation I screwed up on twice at the last time and my video didn't work. And I didn't have a clicker. Next. All right. You've done all of that. What will set you apart? What will make you better? What What will drive you to become the best version of you? Accountability. Again, the friends that I spoke about, there's you looking at yourself saying, I need to be a better version of myself. Then you have friends. They do the very same. We soon touch on community, but if you're a part of a bigger community, they drive you, whether consciously or subconsciously. I am the least experienced developer in my friends. Easy. When them little bastards keep getting promoted, I can't stay stuck at the same place. Because they will go, hey, have you learned this? Hey, we've been there. Hey, I've presented there. My brain going, I need to step up my game. I need to make a presentation. Because your community helps you to grow. So this is a hashtag that my friend, there's a whole website. I said to them I wanted to make 7 talks, do 7 projects, and write 7 articles. I was having this conversation. They bought a whole domain and made a website. So I'm at 5 talks. I have 6 weeks to finish everything else. I have them rough drafted and I'll get done by then. But my friends kept me accountable by this. I now know it has to be done. Because subconsciously, first child of a bunch of Jamaican parents, I want to be a people pleaser. I can't help it. All right, next move, consistency. I just finished Read the Power of Habit, and the speaker spoke about you having new systems and how habits change who you are. Like it rewrites your brain. So the first couple days, you might not be able to think you can do it. The trick is by day 5, your brain goes, we've spent 30 minutes with this every day. This makes more sense. Easiest way for any one of us to do it. Get 1 sheet of paper or buy a pack of Post-its. Take off first one, put it on the wall, write the day, 0 of 1. First move I'd ever make is to spend 20 minutes every day writing code. If that's your problem, to learn on your own something new. 20 minutes, 1 project. That's it. By the 5th day, you'll probably push it up to half an hour. And if you write the number out of 30 and write the date on it, we'll keep going. You miss 1 day. You only get 1 chance to miss it once. If you make it twice, your brain after that's going to tell you that I don't need to keep doing this. Join a community that has the 20 or 30 days of code. That helps you. And you're going to either find or make the time. So something's got to give. Sad to say sometimes it's sleep, but after a while you figure out how to get more sleep by doing something that you shouldn't have done. All right. My community are these things. All of these people, all this thing right here is my community. I've had mentors, I've had friends, I've done meetups both online and offline. I run Free Code Camp now in Atlanta, but before this, I used to just go. I've had study groups that I've been invited to. I've had study groups that I formed. Took the energy and made time to become a better version of myself. All right. My takeaway from all of this is that you have to both participate and contribute at the end of the day to every situation. And again, the point of going, I don't know enough, that's not true. You always have something to give. I've learned in code that being a part of a coding community, I've learned that we have a lot of musicians. Free Code Camp at one time had 5 musicians. It's a thing. I don't know why. We have people from different backgrounds who are able to explain things differently. There was once a guy, he moved back to Alabama, but he was writing code and trying to get a job. And he's like, I work in a warehouse. His second job was writing code for a warehouse. He thought about stuff that his bosses couldn't figure out because he drove the forklift in the room and knew everything. So when the sensors went up, he could figure out why stuff wasn't working. And everybody's like, how do you know this? Other experiences. He participated, he contributed. All of this is what a community does for me. it will also sure as hell do the same thing for you if you stick to it. Focus. Where are we going? What we're going to do? That's fine. After I have a goal, I know exactly what to focus on. Conversations help you to learn way faster because I learned the 20-minute method in problem solving from having a conversation. I wouldn't know it on my own. So 20 minutes. Any problem you're having, work at it consistently for 20 minutes. Take another 20 minutes documenting what didn't work and everything that you tried. Then you can go ask somebody. Then it's easier for you to explain what didn't work and why it didn't work. It gives me growth, new opportunities, and I know why I belong in the community. Last but not least, something that majority of us in this room are horrible at. We do not spread the word on all the things that we know, and we're horrible advocates for ourselves. It is never the smartest person in the room that gets the job. Majority of the times. It is the person who knows how to write the code and knows how to advocate for themselves. That's it. So you don't have to be the smartest. You just have to know how to advocate. So how do you advocate? You use Twitter or the dumpster fire that it is currently right now. I have to go investigate Mastodon in a minute. I know I have an account somewhere, but I hardly ever use it. You write. I hate Medium, so I stick to Polywork and Dev2. LinkedIn is a really good place to post stuff that you've written, stuff that you've used, stuff that you've seen, and comment about it. I learned that my LinkedIn activity was being watched this week when I was having an interview, and one of the CTOs said, and I quote, "You're the kind of person that I think we like because you keep talking about stuff that you do and how to express yourself." And I'm going, this is a regular Tuesday. I just post stuff because I have other people I'm teaching. That's it. You have to advocate for yourself. If you feel brave enough, I'm not there yet, you can do a Twitch stream or consistently post on YouTube. I will copy and paste this and post it on YouTube. That's it. But put yourself out there. Throw your name in Google. You're supposed to be the first version of yourself coming up. You're supposed to have at least 1 page worth of results. Twitter, LinkedIn, 4 or 5 articles, a discussion somewhere. Your GitHub is supposed to pop up. Your portfolio is supposed to pop up. You're supposed to advocate. You're supposed to advocate for yourself and learn how to sell yourself. All right. While we do all of that, we have to do the work. We have to refine the craft and show everybody that we know what we're talking about at best an intermediate version of it. Sorry, that's just what it is. All right. Create. We are as much consumers of knowledge, we have to produce content or build something. So, while we're running through the tutorials, we build it, we make notes. When you're done, add something to it. You always learn enough to add something. Beginner level, change of color, change of font, drop a color picker on it, so on and so forth. Add an additional user, add authentication, add extra notes, add a place that it is hosted live and there are tests and documentation, even if that's not what the tutorial told you to do. Just write it, just build it, no matter how small, because it demonstrates your knowledge. For the love of God and all that is holy and sanctimonious, please stop making code and put it on GitHub and have no readmes or live versions or snapshots of what it should look like. Let me say that again. Please stop putting code online that there are no description, no readmes, no live versions if it's usable. There is always somebody out there that needs your code to learn shit. I learned that the hard way. Somebody literally found me on Twitter, jumped in my DMs, and goes, "Why is this? I don't know what to do with this." I'm like, "What project are you talking about? Drop the link." I'm like, "I'm sorry." I went and I fixed it. Because they were learning and somebody told them that I had the best version. I fixed it. Are my GitHub stuff perfect now? No, far from it, but they're better. And we all in this room can do better. All right. Another part that we can become exceptional at what we do is to contribute to open source. Tech is built on open source, which is weird to me considering that education charges you to look up a research paper. You can look up people's code easily. And the best versions of a lot of tech that is used over the world is on GitHub for free with explanations and tests. And you can DM the person and some of them will respond. So it's your turn to do the same. Why? We all want jobs where we get more money. One of the best ways to get more money is to become a better learner on a team. A social learner is one of the most dangerous things in this game. You can write the code, you can talk to people, you can talk about the code. That's it. We all get more experience on something new that we're trying to learn. So, whatever it is, you get to go, okay, cool. I have this open source project and a new language that I've learned. Here's my contribution, here's my documentation. There is no interviewer, boss, or manager that can't, if they tell you that it's not good enough, there's something wrong with them because they don't understand it from that side. Even if it's trivial, if you're seeking a first or second opportunity, it's a gateway drug. They'll say, okay, cool, that's awesome. And there's been countless examples, and we've heard rumors of people around this room that says, hey, I've learned more from this by looking at what you did. They got jobs from open source contributions. Happens. All right. And for me, my current high is that I'm chasing 100 green square streak. My best is 74. I'm trying to hit 100 this time. Right now, if you type in first time in GitHub, you have that much repos. The first 200 is going to be well documented. If you sort them by language, the first 10, 15, well documented. So you can figure it out. You can figure out how to be a part of an open source project. All right, I'm almost done. Civic hacking. It's a touchy thing for people because some of us don't want to come outside of our houses, but here's how it sets you apart. You become part of a network, you've worked on a real world problem that you can reference to and say, hey, I solved a problem for this city. Very few people that can tell you otherwise. It's a nice little point on your resume or a good reference for you to get a new job. That's it. I have done leading, documenting, and solving the problem. That's what's missing from that the city gave us. I'll tell you that story if we have enough time, because I want us to get out of here because I know I'm the last person. Your networking skills would be awesome just for being there. This was Marta in 2018. That's how I got here from that. All right. Almost done. You are the best version of you and you need to stand up for that. Be authentically you while learning how not to offend people without feeling oppressed. You're needed here. Case in point. 2 years ago, there was a company in Atlanta that was building restaurant software that never learned the lesson of how to calculate tips because there's nobody on the dev team that ever weighed table. Never been in a restaurant and worked in one. Young lady who did retail and restaurant work, bootcamp grad, freshest on the team, goes, oh, that's easy. Problem solved. Everybody on the team. Bear in mind, these are Georgia Tech people. They've never needed to do all of this. She goes, oh yeah, weighed tables, so that's how you calculate this, and this is how it goes at, and this is the deductions you're supposed to make. Your authentic version of yourself is needed here. One of my biggest gripes in this environment is that we have 50% of our users are female. Do we have 50% of the engineers that are female? No. And it's a 9, because they'll think of different ways of how to use software. And I'll never stop advocating for them, ever. And I'll piss off a lot of people, and I still don't care. I grew from what? 3 teachers, mom, aunt, other aunt, became a teacher. I've learned what it means to stand up for other people. So you're needed here. And you're in the wrong place. So that's about it. Questions, if anybody has them. If you don't, I have one story to tell. All right, let me drop my story first. That's me on Twitter. That's how you find me if needed. So my biggest claim to fame in this is that I once participated in a hackathon. Let me see if I can find it. And these work. So this is me when I was skinnier. We did all of that. So the story behind this is the following. The city had a problem. This is my hackathon story. City had a problem. They couldn't figure out how to better paratransit service in Atlanta. Back then, they were still doing the whole automation on a whiteboard to pick up and drop off people. It was horrible. They got sued for leaving somebody out in the cold because this is how it worked. You call a bus, the bus comes to pick you up. The bus can be late by up to an hour, but if the bus comes to pick you up at a specific spot and you're late by 5 minutes, it's your fault. They don't call you while they're on their way, they don't text you, they don't do none of that. There's no system for that. So we tried to solve that problem. They left somebody out in the cold once for like 20 minutes? No, 4 hours, correction. They got sued for it. We solved the problem, or did our best to solve the problem. We entered the hackathon not 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. After a while, we learned that AT&T says, hey, we are doing the very same problem, but it's 1 year and you have to go way deeper. That taught me about accessibility, HIPAA regulations, which is how your records are kept in the healthcare system. All of that. We said we ain't gonna win no money. All right, cool. It's 160 something, 196, no, wrong competition. It was 96 different entrants. We didn't think we're gonna win. They said they're gonna take 10. We get called up. We're like, all right, cool. We're gonna win $5,000, donate it to the servers, donate it to the different places that does this. Sign an agreement, because you're friends. Wise friends make sure that there's an agreement on money at any one time. Made the presentation, had fun with it, enjoyed the stadium. That was the first year the stadium was open and we had a private tour and everything. 3rd prize. They didn't call our name. We're like, oh, okay, cool. They forgot us, so we're getting a consolation prize. 2nd prize. Still didn't call us. We're like, meh, whatever happens, happens. 1st prize. They called our names. My knees got lost. She threw everything up in the air. Eric was grinning like an idiot, and Anne turned red. We all went, you know, we should have took half the money, because we all needed MacBooks back then. Anyway, I've gotten interviews for this because of this story. I've gotten on podcasts because of this story, because people want to hear how civic hacking actually does better for the city. The biggest takeaway from this is that the city took a lot of our research. They didn't make their own software. They found some place that made software that alleviated the problem better. Took some of our suggestions and changed their majority of their system now. So we did something great. And I feel good for that. That's my claim to fame. Any questions? And that's it.